The man sitting on my left is called Mr. Benny Anti. He's the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO of XYZ Broadcasting. And the gentleman sitting on my right-hand side is WO retired Joseph Dobe. He's our head of finance and administration. He has been with XYZ from day one, the original XYZ before it was handed over. So it's an institutional memory for us. The gentleman on the extreme right is our head of technical. It's called Mr. Kelvin Asante. Linda Majite is our head of marketing and client service. For now, this is the management staff which is welcoming you. We looked at the size of our conference room. We are here because we were at Adringano, which was a bigger facility. We had constraints, especially when one of our mother platforms, which was Radio XYZ, was knocked down. I'm sure the CEO will talk a little about how it has affected us. But we moved here for strategic reasons. Proximity to our competitors, so that if I invite you to my office and you have to move to another media house, within 5-10 minutes you can go to TV3, any of the media platforms around. And so we are managing the facilities around. So we put up this place purposely to have smaller meetings or some engagements by management. And so we'll accommodate you for now here. The last person I want to introduce is called Mr. Ahianyo. He's the general manager for Radio XYZ. So that's my team. I am the deputy CEO in charge of operations. My name is Ahianyo.
We started this conversation last week, and the speed with which you move to make today's message possible is very much. Mr. Speaker is here to get to understand what you do and what some of the issues that you are confronted with on a daily basis are. He's also here to have discussions about the 30th anniversary celebration of Parliament and also to share some thoughts. He needs no introduction, I believe. I mean, you can call him the doyen of parliamentary democracy in Ghana. The longest serving member, has been with Parliament since inception for the past 30 years. He's also worked in different ministerial capacities as Minister of Works and Housing, Minister of Health. And you all know we gave a certain we christened a certain group of 3 who were given a certain appointment in a certain way. We call them the 3 wise men. So he was a member of the 3 wise men, as you all know. I don't think it's for nothing that the members of parliament call him Father, oh Father. I'm beginning to realize that when they are misbehaving, and they realize that speaker might come down heavy on them, then they start screaming, Father, oh Father. So that's Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
With him is Honorable Kofi Ato. He was a former MP for Ho Central, experienced in international relations, was the chair of the International Relations Committee of Parliament for quite a while, and is currently Mr. Speaker's Chief of Staff. And then I have with me Richard Achampon. I think he's worked all his life in Parliament, one of the most experienced staff in the Parliamentary Service, who currently heads Mr. Speaker's Secretariat. David Damois is the Director of Media Relations. Na Valerie is the Public Relations Officer working in Mr. Speaker's Secretariat. We have other members of Mr. Speaker's security staff who I would not introduce. But in the chair there is Justice. Justice is a special aide to Mr. Speaker. And my name is Gerhard Mensah.
XYZ is a group of media houses, media entities, with 5 main operational outlets. That's Power FM, TV XYZ, Radio XYZ, now AfroCine, and then we have the online outlet, which is myxyzonline.com. Our language orientation is predominantly Twi. Our target audience is mainly within the lower to middle income earners, artisans and rural folk. Our content orientation is mostly current affairs, politics, and a bit of entertainment. And with regards to our operational orientation, we are mostly a multitasking force. We are very small in number. Running 5 different stations and a group of about 50 to 55 people manning it. It requires a lot of multitasking. So that's our major line of operational orientation. A brief history. We were incorporated in 2010 by the late David Lamte. The company was later reacquired in 2016 by AutoChecks. That is a subsidiary of Royal Derby Group. By then, Radio XYZ was already operational all the way from 2011. TV XYZ was then was activated in January 2017. Just after that reactivation, we had the NCA Radio XYZ dispute. I'll talk more about that as we move along. But then we also commenced Power FM, that's later in that same year of 2017, September 2017. And also then we had the shutdown of Radio XYZ. But I'll come back to that quickly. I just want to run a bit about each of the main stations. TV XYZ is current affairs, politics, social related issues. It's more oriented towards that side. Just about 8 months into operations, we're ranked the 4th most viewed station in Ghana within the third quarter of 2017, just within 8 months of operations. We currently run in full high definition. As we speak, TV XYZ and Power FM also remain one of the few stations that actually streams almost all of its content online as well, and is beginning to attract a growing number of viewers online as well. A typical example is the just recent by-elections at Asin North, where you had TV XYZ and Power FM collaborating to more or less dominate the entire space. Whilst we're doing about 5.2K people viewing at the same time, others were, more or less struggling with even getting about 1K people watching at the same time. And we run this from 6 a.m. all the way up to 10 p.m. and the response was very encouraging. And in 2021, TV XYZ was adjudged the Emerging TV Station of the Year by the RTP Awards, which we see as a very encouraging feat as far as we are concerned. This is just to show the data putting us at number 4. As you can see on the screen there, maybe it's a bit far, with about 8.69% of the audience share. This was all the way back in 2017. Power FM, our orientation is also politics and social issues, and also a bit of entertainment. We have a dominant presence throughout all the 16 regions, and this is mainly because of the fact that we have a lot of affiliates within the regions. We also happen to be on the multi-TV Digibox, so it also covers the entire nation. We are also mainly known for our strong advocacy for truth and spelling out issues as plain as we can. Our flagship programs more or less feature very dedicated, hardworking, vociferous hosts, most of whom have won several awards as we speak. Later, I'm sure we'll speak to a couple of them, so I'll just move on from there. A couple of our flagship programs as well. Radio XYZ. I just want to touch a bit on the effects of Radio XYZ. When we started Radio XYZ was our main revenue generator, and right after kickstarting, after the acquisition of XYZ Broadcasting, we had the issue with NCA, and it being our major revenue generator, it literally, crippled us financially. We had to lay off a lot of staff, mainly because the other station that we had activated, Power FM, was had a different language orientation. So basically, we couldn't migrate a lot of the staff to the Tree-speaking orientation. So we had to lay a lot of people off. Power FM had just started, so it was now trying to get up on its feet. Contracts that we had with clients, all of them had to be abrogated. So it was a real blow to us, and this happened within a space of four whole years, from 2017 right up to 2021, when we finally were given back the frequency. Currently, Radio XYZ is on test transmission. Our orientation for that side is going to be mainly current affairs and entertainment for mainly based for the youth. We also have AfroCine. AfroCine is a 24-hour purely African movie channel. It just shows African movies with a bit of Afrocentric music. We have it's broadcast fully in HD. It's exclusive to the HD Plus platform though, but it has currently about over 150,000 subscribers. Of course, then we have the online outlet I spoke about earlier, which is also doing very, very well. One of the first challenges we've had is the fact that we have literally no collaboration with government entities. The reasons we probably can talk about later. Second thing is that there's no form of revenue sharing as far as any form of budgets from these state-owned institutions and public institutions are concerned. Since we started from the onset of the acquisition of XYZ in 2017. Then there's this idea of the stigmatization of prospective clients, where we try to bank a few companies in, and the idea is that we see you as a station where a no-touch station, because we are afraid of being more or less bastardized in any way or form. The fourth one is, which is even more pressing, is the witch hunting, and it's in inverted commas because for obvious reasons, where clients of ours are literally more or less manhandled in certain ways to push them to get off our airwaves. It's a major problem. I'm hoping that this meeting can, if there's any way we can get a mouthpiece, to help prevent such things. The fifth one is the number of licenses that we have to pay. We have no problem whatsoever with NCA's yearly statutory fees for all our various media stations. We've had no problems with it. The problem we have now is this introduction of this new DTT platform fees, which by God's grace, Giba is also helping us fight, we are supposed to, if this fees are agreed upon, we would have to pay about $10,000 a month. That is a crippler. I mean, that would definitely cripple many companies, many media houses, and it's something we are really looking forward to, that it will be either quashed or there will be a better negotiation around the DTT platform fees. Then there's the issue of the conflict of some of the licenses. You have GAMRO, the Ghana Music Rights Organization, and then we have ASOG, which is the Association of Audiovisual Rights Society of Ghana. And there's a conflict because you have one person collecting for musicians, both for radio and then also for TV. Then you have the Audiovisual Rights Society saying that, okay, we are also collecting for musicians who are doing video content. So you're asking, why am I paying for music, the audio part of it, both for my radio and TV station, and also have to pay separate fees for the same thing for my TV again? It's a bit conflicting, and we are hoping that there will be some form of clarity, either via some policy or whatever means, to help us sort these things out. These fees are really crippling us as far as our finances are concerned. And then the last but not least is the security issues. We've had several instances where some of our presenters are literally attacked, some of their windscreens are bashed and all that, some are being tailed, you're not sure, it's quite worrying, in a country that boasts of free speech. And it's something that we are really keen on working on as far as the media space is concerned. But in spite of all this, we still manage to give back to society. We do a couple of programs such as Easter Cherudo, where we give to orphanages. Our listeners and viewers have been of tremendous help. They really support us when it comes to such programs. There are instances where we also help people in need of medical assistance as well. A couple of programs that we have, Power Odopa, that's during the Valentine season, Easter Cherudo during Easter, Wisdom Summit during August, Bermuda Games on May Day, and then the Xmas Ball, which we haven't initiated yet. But in conclusion, we are looking forward to a good relationship with your good self, Right Honorable, and the entire Parliament. And we are really grateful for the time here. We are actually eager to hear from you.
It's a pleasure to be here once again, and to see all of you looking fresh and hale, We decided to embark on this journey for very good reasons. But that this year we in Parliament have decided to lead the celebration of the 30 years of continuous democratic development in Ghana. This is the first time Gold Coast Ghana has enjoyed this length of time in democratic governance. And so it's a good period for us to take stock, and celebrate the achievements that we've made so far. And so this one is part of the celebration, because we know how important the media is when it comes to democracy. It's not only democracy, life in general. And so we decided to touch base with you, and then create a platform for all of us to exchange ideas, see how we could together develop better the media landscape, and then also synergize, make democracy and development work better in our country. it's worrying, and you just underlined some of the reasons why I said it's worrying. It's worrying that for this continuous 30 years, all of a sudden, the media started backsliding according to the assessments that have been made by renowned global media watchers, you know. And I'll just refer to some of them. You know, the Reporters Without Borders have on a number of occasions assessed the press freedom, you know, what we could refer to as the annual press freedom index of about 180 countries from 5 continents. The performance of Ghana has not been encouraging at all. In fact, it's really kept some of us very worried about what is happening. You recall that our best performance was in 2015 when we were ranked 22nd. That was our best performance. Now, suddenly, we're becoming the worst performance in Africa. You recall that last year, for example, we dropped from the 60th position to the 62nd position, you know. But this, you may say, is our worst performance in 18 years. Apart from the 2021, where we had a slip, you know, we're ranking 30th, and all of a sudden we flopped to 60th position. That is very sad. A country, as we said, who claim to be a model democracy in Africa, leaders in Africa, and all those things, all of a sudden our media is under serious attack. Free expression is like a crime, and all those things, you know. So it's worrying. And this kind of visit is to create a platform for us all to look through, discuss, and see how we could put our efforts together to develop the media front. Even countries like Burkina Faso were under military rulers, you know, and have banned local retransmission of even international news, deporting foreign journalists, and all what they are doing there, all the human rights abuses, have still performed better this year than Ghana. I mean, they ranked 58th, you know, 58th. Namibia, 22nd. South Africa, 25th. Cape Verde, 33rd. Seychelles, 34th. Gambia, 46th. Cote d'Ivoire, 54th. You know, Niger, 61st. And almighty Ghana, 62nd. It's worrying, you know. So I just decided, together with my team, to touch base with you people, you know, raise these issues. And I'm sure with the power that you have, you transmit them to the general populace, and particularly to the powers that be, that this is not what we wish or we working towards as a country. And this is really an anathema to democracy. It's not what a country like Ghana should be heard, known, or seen to be doing. And I think that the visit is to create this awareness of what is happening in the country. Not only the awareness that we are celebrating a 30th anniversary celebration, which I think is very important too. But I think that it will give me the opportunity to also share a few thoughts of what my understanding of freedom of expression, free media is, and all those things. And I think the way we should go, maybe commend you people for what you're doing, urge you on to continue along those lines, and to thank you for what you've done, even for my own development in the political landscape. Not for the media, I don't think when I was minority leader, I would have been known. But the media really helped me on, and I was flying on the wings of media. And even in those days, you know, where it was like a military takeover, you know, 2000 elections, and that was the first time we had a transition from a democratically elected government to another. It was just like a military takeover, and I was thrust into the limelight as the leader of the minority. We had to fight, and the media was ready and willing to support me to do so. And that is how we managed to change the culture of governance in this country. And I think that I'm using this opportunity to thank the media sincerely for what you've done. We claim to have pluralism in the media front. We claim to have independent media. Definitely, if we go through our constitution, we have ample provisions that guarantee free media and freedom of expression. We have in that. But is that what is in practice? I doubt. You know, and I think that, as I referred to earlier on, this visit should encourage you to know that you have allies, people who believe in you, and people who are willing to support and fight to defend you, to protect you against a tyranny that is developing in the country. I usually refer to as a democratic dictatorship. You know, people think that it's a contradiction in terms. It is not. We have them all over the world. And so this is the reason why we are here. But I believe that this visit will also create the opportunity, as you refer to strengthen the bond, the relationship between Parliament and the media, and particularly the office of the Speaker. You know, the role that the Speaker plays in democracy has not been emphasized and explained to many Ghanaians, so they don't understand it. We took a concept that tries to insulate the Speaker from first partnership, so that it can strengthen him to be a national figure, a statesman, to be able to hold the balance, not just for the interests of only Parliament, but for the interests of the country. The Speaker is the spokesperson for Parliament, but during debate, he doesn't speak. He's only to apply the rules. But outside, he is the defender of the rights, the freedoms, the privileges, the immunities of the members of Parliament and the workers in Parliament. And nationally, is the Speaker that leads the institution of Parliament to defend your rights and freedoms. And so that personality has to be protected. And that is where this issue of the development of privileges and immunities come in. And so that without that, they will not have the power to be able to protect and defend your rights. And by extension, to the members of Parliament who have to do same in their constituencies for their constituents. And that is why when one of your staff from Power FM was arrested for insulting language, I had to come in, and then I had to visit even His Excellency the President to try to urge him to, even though he promised me, it didn't happen anyway. But these are some of the reasons why you see us intervening. And so I'm really very concerned that free speech is now being criminalized in Ghana, in spite of the fact that we said that we have revised and reviewed some of our laws to remove the criminal libel law 2 decades ago. But we still have provisions in the Electronic Communications Act and also the Criminal and Other Offences Act. And so Parliament is taking it up. We're working to remove those provisions from it and to leverage the media to have all the airs and the space and the freedom that we want for them to continue to throw light and fresh air in governance, accountability, and our efforts to contain corruption. Unfortunately, there's some creeping development that is worrying. We have journalists on daily basis facing death threats, and you know about the killing of one of your colleagues. We have them, the violence, the arrests, the detentions, and with all the seizures and destruction of your equipment and all those things by supposed agencies, which we should be referring to as state security agencies. But unfortunately, they have slumped into what I refer to as government security agencies, not state security agencies. You know, they are like the watchdogs, not watchdogs, but bulldogs to defend government. Okay? So it's only His Excellency the President that can command, and they act, no other person. But that is wrong. That is not democracy at all. We have the arms of government. There are four arms of government. You have the executive, yes, and the term is very clear to all of you. Executive, which means they are to execute. Okay? Then you have the legislature, which predominantly makes the laws. And what is the thing that the executive execute? It's the laws. Implement the laws that they are made by the parliament. Then you have the judiciary. They only come in when there's disagreement in understanding of the laws. Okay? And then you have the media. Why? The media comes in to get all the arms to account. Because we are not sovereign. It's the people. In Ghana, that's what we say. In UK, that is parliament that is sovereign. But in Ghana, it's the people. And they have the powers. And they just delegated the powers to us to act this way. And so we have to go back to account to them. That this power you've given to me, the trust that you put in me, this is how I'm exercising it in your interest. And the body that is charged with supporting or leading that is the fourth arm, the media. And so when the media is under attack like this, you cannot claim to be practicing democracy. That is what it is. And that is the strength of countries like America. You know, it's when these work together that the rule of law really operates, not the rule by law, which is selective justice. Okay? Many of you are too young, and I'm happy that we are here, and we'll stress on some of these issues for you to take up. People don't even know that when Nkrumah was overthrown because of PDA and detentions, there was another decree that was put in by those who overthrew him called the Protective Custody Decree. Now, the PDA was Preventive Detention Act, and they brought the Protective Custody Decree. Okay? The people that were arrested and detained in the Protective Custody Decree were more than those that were arrested and detained by the PDA to influence the minds, the thoughts, the actions of people. And that is very key for development, because the media that moves things, okay? And definitely we all know as Christians and Muslims that the whole world was even created by the word. And that's the media, the word, the voice. So it's so powerful. But unfortunately, what has happened to people like Caleb Kuda, like Nana Jetwa and Ahmed Hussein Swale, and as we just mentioned, the vandalization, destruction of media houses, and the closure of so many media after the 2016 elections. Many of you don't know that I led the negotiations in getting your disembark. You know, many of you don't know. Yes, I led the negotiations. I met the president. I met the minister for communications. I used the powers that you've given me to try and leverage, you know, quid pro quo. If you give this, I give you that kind of thing. You know, we have to do all those hustling before they finally, reluctantly, decided to return some of these things to the media. So we played a very key role in that. And the detention, the torture, and imprisonment of people for what some people term insulting reportage is worrying, or what people refer to as fake news. Who determines the fakeness of news? Is it the police? Is it government? That should not be, you know. And who says that the fact that I might have used a strong word in describing you is an insult? In any case, if your head is big and I say you have a big head, is that an insult? I'm just describing the head. In any case, you don't take any part in the creation of the head. It's God. And also these things, we should take them lightly. And that's why sometimes my communication experts don't understand me when they try to draw my attention that, oh, this one, you shouldn't say this one. Oh, why? Let it go. Don't publish this. I say, oh, let them publish. Let them publish. And I won't come because as a speaker now, I can't come on air and be debating people on these issues. I used to do as minority leader, and that spirit is still in me. But now there's a code of conduct I have to go by. I have to go by. I'm still struggling to go by it. I'm not sure I've measured up. But it's important for me to say that we need, as a country, to rethink, to sit back, look at what has happened for these 30 years, and rewrite the wrongs that we've committed. And so we want to call on the law enforcement agencies and the judiciary in particular to wake up from their slumber. It's worrying that some decisions have been given by courts that clearly show that they themselves have been intimidated. You see a judge delivering a judgment and you're not sure the direction the person is going. So the law has become so uncertain that even lawyers find it difficult to advise their clients. And the business cannot thrive in such an environment because you want certainty to be able to project, to be able to calculate, to be able to budget, to be able to plan. And so when there's that uncertainty even come from the judiciary, it's a worrying development that we need to talk about and discuss. So we have taken up the laws that we think are fetters on the rights and freedoms of the media. We work on them. I'm sure this year we'll revise all of them this year to make the media more freer than we anticipate. I know that as a former member of the National Media Commission, you know, where in the early days, I was there from 1996 to 2001. And then when I became minority leader, I had to let it go. And we struggled to establish the Media Commission because it was a new young lad, and not much attention was given to it. But we had to fight to get it established, to get the laws passed. And you know, I've been there since '93, so I was part of it. We realized that the Constitution did not give us more leverage to add some other provisions. So truly, they say it's a toothless bulldog. Okay, but the recent call for it to also assume some powers is worrying. You know, we cannot turn the media into a high court, and for it now to claw back the development of the media outfit and also be a fetter to the rights and freedoms of media personnel. And I think that we in Parliament will definitely not support such a move. And I think that we should rather work with the Media Commission to see how we could improve on this, our annual Press Freedom Index. There is, as you all know, what we refer to as the Reporters' Shield. And I think that is the way to go. How Ghana could develop and implement the Reporters' Shield to protect reporters from this kind of trumped up charges, or they call defamation and all those things, the lawsuits. I, as a lawyer and a member of Parliament, had the opportunity of taking action against a number of media houses. But I ended up creating the opportunity to settle those things out of court. You know, in those early days when I was the member of Parliament and also later minority leader, you know, some people did not understand my fight to create more space for us all to act. And they were referring to it as Bagbin's ugly nuances. Those publications are still there. And so there were instances that some members of Parliament, some ministers, my good self, had to go to court to try and draw the attention of the rather very excited journalists that have found some free places to operate, that no, that is not what we call freedom of the media. And we had almost all the cases were settled. And there's even one case I just abandoned, you know, when I was the Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing. It was not Works and Housing, it was Water Resources, Works and Housing. More important than Works and Housing, you know, because you know water is life. And so we were able to move the water from the very low 56% coverage. By the time I left, we were 63% coverage within 2 years. So we did a lot because of the passion and love that our late illustrious president, His Excellency J.A. Mills, had for the life of people. I know his agenda was better Ghana. How could Ghana be better without water? So we invested a lot in the water system. So almost all the major water systems in the country, I was involved in it, particularly the 40 million gallons a day water that is pumped from Pong to supply Tema, Accra. And that's what changed the water in those country, areas. And so we will want to use this opportunity to call on the government and our development partners for us all to see how we can provide some safety work environment for our media personnel. We want to move away from the media operating in fear or the enticement by other actors for some unnecessary favors. You know, we have to work on this. If we don't succeed in getting these things done, definitely the democratic environment will be polluted, and you cannot get the freedom and the inspiration to be creative Well, that's what leads to development. Innovation and creativity is what leads to development. It's not government that develops, it's the private sector. But more importantly, it's the media that holds and creates this environment. And the media must be protected against all this intrusion. And the more important place, which has been one of the issues even during the time I was a minority leader, I kept on talking about, is the conditions of service of media personnel. Media generally is not private business. Okay? The private sector could support government, as you people are doing, by investing in the media. But the products of media cannot be private goods. It's public goods. Whether you are in the private media or you are in public media, whatever you produce is public. It's for the public interest. The impact and everything is public. And therefore, just leaving the conditions of service in the hands of those who have decided to complement the efforts of the public sector by investing in media, like your good self, leaving all that to them, it's not being fair. They have a share in the national cake. And that share in the national cake must be evenly given to those even investing in the media called private media. So I think we need to look together, work together, not only to provide the right working environment, but how to train more of the media, how to develop the media landscape, how to eliminate excessive partisanship. Partisanship is good because it acknowledges the diversity of life. God's own creation has made us different. Our likes, our dislikes, our heights, our structures, our tastes, everything is different. And that partisanship creates the mechanism to be able to reflect and mirror all this diversity in whatever we do. So it's good. But to see the difference in others is what we refer to as excessive partisanship. You are always right and you don't do any wrong because your perspective is different from another person's perspective. And so the fact that you think you are right doesn't necessarily mean that I am wrong, because we are seeing the things from different angles. And you know the story of the elephant and the 5 disabled, blind people. So that is how it is. So how do we together work to get these things done? And I think that it's an area that Parliament will have to work with all of you to improve upon. Because if the working conditions of the media practitioners are well taken care of, nobody will be able to influence them to do what is wrong. People have conscience. So what we intend to do as an institution is to create a platform for all key stakeholders on how to prevent this further decline of the media in Ghana in the annual World Press Freedom Index, and how we could together work to, if not completely eliminate, but to mitigate the threats to free expression in Ghana and the practice of journalism. I think it's important that the National Media Commission, the Media Foundation for West Africa, the Ghana Journalists Association, the Private Newspaper Publishers Association, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, and all civil society organizations that are relevant to this lesson to come on board this platform. And so one of the initiatives we've done in Parliament is to establish what we call the Citizens Bureau. And the Citizens Bureau is to be a one-stop shop for all information in Parliament and also civil society. so we can gel together, work on so many issues expeditiously to clean up all this toxicity I'm talking about in the media landscape. We have also, in our new standing orders, which by the grace of the Almighty God, we are likely to pass this week. The new standing orders, very comprehensive, quite voluminous now. Looking at our experience, we have injected a lot of things into the new standing orders, and we are opening up all committee meetings to the media. It is now not that the chairman will, at his pleasure or her pleasure, decide whether to invite the media or not. You are to be there. It's a rule. If for any reason that they want the media not to be part of it, they must give a reason. Okay, either national security or whatever. But you are to be there to report. And therefore, we want to call on you to increase the numbers. Because we look at specialization. You can't have one personnel or two that to cover all committee meetings, because there are usually a number of committees meeting at the same time. And this is where the call on the state to come in to support media, whether public or private, because it's social good for all of us. Because you alone will not be able to get the numbers, will not be able to train to these specialties we're talking about. We've created new committees, and as I go around the country celebrating with Ghanaians on the 30 years, 3 decades of uninterrupted democracy in Ghana, we're bringing these things out. And we want to invite all of you to participate in those activities, which will include some lectures, some games, some health work, or just work in general, and then a number of fora, public fora. We invite people, we deliver, we allow questions, and this visit is intended to get us to work together to see how we can deepen press freedom in the country, how we can create more free and uninterrupted space for the media to operate in Ghana, and generally to look at the welfare of the journalists who work in this rather very difficult terrain. We will want to use this opportunity to call on the other arms of government, you know, the executive and the judiciary in particular, to come on board with us, so that together we can secure and guarantee the media freedom and the free expression that we talk about. Because the absence of such a thing is very detrimental to the concept of the separation of powers, fundamental human rights, and particularly Parliament, our function, the oversight function, holding those in authority accountable, exposing corruption and the abuse of power, and fostering transparency and good governance are all made possible by free press. This is key to the development of the nation. It is our duty to protect freedom of expression, and by extension, the journalists, despite the infractions that come with journalism. You know, nobody is perfect. The language that we are using to report is not our language. We all learned it. And the choice of words differ. And the fact that we disagree on that should not allow or give the latitude to any person to attack the media and call it infractions. But we should rather ask ourselves the question, in the absence of the media, what is going to happen in the country? You see that might will be right. And that is it. In the absence of the media in Parliament, what are we going to be doing? We'll be operating in the dark. People will not even know what we are doing there. And so it's important that we do all we can to support the media to grow. As Thomas Jefferson, the former US president, said, if he had to choose between a government without newspapers and newspapers without a government, he will not hesitate a moment to choose newspapers without a government. That was a very strong point, emphasizing the critical need for the freedom of expression. And I think that that is the way to go as a country. We should build that culture. We cannot consolidate or entrench democracy in this country without entrenching the freedom of expression and the freedom of the media. It's for this that we are here, and we are happy that you have received us warmly. So on behalf of my delegation and Parliament, I want to thank you for this reception, and please, the floor is yours now.
I think that going forward, there should be this orientation of appreciating the fact that what we also do benefit society. And so if there's the national cake where we know that the state is using media platforms to sensitize the public, maybe national population census, COVID came, we knew there are several of them. There's nothing wrong if you also give us that small part of the national cake to be able to enhance our operations. That is very key. I have been in the media for a while, and I know capacity building is across platforms. Civil society does it, private sector does it, and government also deliberately does it for people to appreciate the various state agencies and what they do, so that when they are carrying out any policy, they can get a buy-in. I can tell you on authority that since I came here, there has not been, and I joined this from 2017, a state institution that is deliberately organizing a capacity building workshop that we have been invited. So it will just look like, let's take them out. It doesn't help because this media space, like football teams, I can play hearts today, tomorrow I'll play kotoko, and that kotoko can be a different platform. We appreciate you for what you do. Even in this house, there are times when we don't understand how you manage the house as Mr. Speaker. So sometimes you say, why is the Speaker doing this? But I think society is beginning to appreciate the position you have taken, that you want to change the face or the image around the office of the Speaker. And I think even in the House, you notice that level of authority that now you carry, which I believe should be sustained going forward after maybe you serve, I don't know how many years you'll be there as Speaker. But I can tell you that that admiration has spread across to the extent that even people of your own or people on the other side are not too sure of how the Speaker will handle this. And it is gradually bringing back that level of appreciation of what Parliament does. But we believe that with your support, as we march along, you continue to guide us, because that symbol of Mr. Speaker, you have been able to let us appreciate it. We are proud you are here, and we now understand why you are number 3. And so
it took you all this while.
So on behalf of my colleagues, we will just lead you on that brief tour of our small facility.
Bye-bye.